Right, we're going to give you the shortest review of this film, and it's all you're going to need. First half is the worst half of a film you're ever going to watch.
Truly awful.
The second half, beautiful, amazing, worth the watch. So do with that what you will.
Oh, we're done. Bye.
Bye.
See ya. No, so we've seen, what's it called? A Violent Nature. In a Violent Nature?
In a Violent Nature.
Every time. In a Violent Nature. We didn't know we were going to see this film.
Yeah, we'll set the scene.
Kim found this mystery horror screaming.
It was called
It was
called a mystery screaming or secret screaming.
Yeah, it was mainly Freudian slip though. And we were like, yeah, why not? Let's go. We just assumed that we'd see something related to like the current universes that are being released or just an old film. Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it was good, but I do think it was an odd choice for a secret screening because this is like an experimental slasher/art film.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just remembered that everyone walked out.
Yeah, we like in the first half. I'd say a good 20% of the cinema just walked out.
Yeah, and it made us so giddy because we thought it was so funny.
So actually, when we were watching the first 45 minutes, we were like trying to discuss without disturbing anyone around us. But basically, I didn't know if this was like some back-end film that was made years ago that they just pulled out of the archives, or if it was new. Because it was bad.
I was like, bad.
We did originally think there's no way this is a new release because this is one of the worst films I've ever watched.
Yeah, and it's on, what's the perspective? 4:3, the square's perspective, so it's not widescreen.
4:3 is rectangle.
Well, it's not square, is it? It's not widescreen, it's a smaller one.
An old
Smaller
school
dimensions. Film. Yeah. I'll look up. I don't know the dimensions. So we were like, oh, is it an old film, or are they just going for this really close, like claustrophobic vibe? Turns out it was that one. But for the first half, when we were just watching people walk out the cinema, they hated it so much. We didn't know what was happening.
We didn't mind it to start with. I did say this is one of the worst films I've ever seen. And that says a lot. Because we love a shit horror. And so we stayed. We were like, we're here to the end. Yeah. I don't care anymore. And every time we seen someone get up and leave, we were just so fascinated. We're like,
it's amazing.
Yeah, so like people kind of trickled out during the first half of the film until about half an hour in.
Yeah.
And there was like the great big walkout. Just like 20 people all just left at once.
And that was just before the part of this film that everyone's talking about, and it's probably one of the greatest horror kills I've ever seen.
This is what I mean, like, literally, like, at pretty much exactly halfway, the film does a 180 and becomes incredible. The concept starts making sense.
Yeah, it clicks in your head what's happening.
Yeah, and I put that down to the bad acting stopping because people are dying.
Yeah, the dialogue pretty much stops about halfway through. Not that there's really any anyway. On the point that this is probably one of the worst films you'll ever see, and it's something anyone could make, really.
They had the time and money.
Or even just some woods.
And a spatula. So we've made our own trailer. Because the trailer pretty much spoils the entire film.
Yeah, if you want to watch it, don't watch the trailer.
It shows pretty much all the kills. I don't see the point in it. Again, was it done on purpose?
Probably. This director really seems to want to piss people off.
And you know, it worked.
It works, you think about it.
But yeah, so the trailer spoils everything. But it doesn't show you the like tensiony bits and the stalking in between. So it came with a great idea, and we took to the local woods. And we did them for you. So if you don't want to go watch the film, you can watch the trailer, then watch this clip.
And it'll be the exact same
the whole
experience.
film. We don't own an axe.
Sorry, I moved house. Not that
Just
long
left
ago.
the axe behind.
Left the axe behind.
Just as you do, it's easily done. Forgotten axe.
Wait, so the concept of the film is we're looking at a slasher film from the POV of the killer. And all the boring stuff that you don't normally see in horror movies. It very much feels like Dead by Daylight, if you've played it.
As you're playing as the killer.
Yeah, because you're just walking around as the killer, like trying to find people, and then you overhear little snippets of conversation.
I've never played as the killer. I'm not very good.
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, I've only been the murderee. Murderee?
The survivors. Well, that's what they called in the game.
Victim.
The victim.
Victim. But I know what you're saying because I played the tutorial.
Yeah,
Didn't complete it because again, I'm not very good. But I've dabbled.
Dabble.
Dabble. So it follows the cliches of classic horror films. I'd like to use like Friday the 13th as like the base.
Yeah,
Jason. He's very Jason-esque. He's got the mask, the statue. I've lost all my words today.
Stature.
Like his frame.
Yeah, stature.
Stature. I said statute.
Oh.
Gaslighting me and thinking I'm right.
Sorry. Just trying to be supportive.
Girls. But it seems like they've gone above and beyond with all the cliches that you get in all the films. To the point where we almost considered, are they taking the piss out of it?
Yeah, it sort of feels like a piss take on the stereotypes. And we have a short list of the things that you'd see in the 80s slashers that are in this. So, our story revolves around teens in the woods.
Classic.
The killer's background is given through a campfire story.
Horrendous.
One of the worst parts of the movie.
It's awful.
Honestly,
Awful.
we're going to try not to spoil this, but the teenager who tells this story has the most nasally voice you'll have ever heard.
Also, he looks like he's 40. It's awful.
Yeah.
Like the rest of them all look like, maybe they all look like early 20s. This guy looks like he's pushing like 35, 40. Make it make sense. So many other options he could have chosen.
Yeah.
Like anyone else.
Anyone.
Anyone else in that circle.
Why have you given the biggest speaking part to someone who sounds like they've had a cold for their entire life? Which, I mean, no offense to him, like, that's just his voice, but
Just bad pick.
bad casting. So there's a really cool part where we are following the killer and he shows up in the back of a group photo, but we see it from the killer's perspective, and then we don't find out that they know about that until we walk past them again about 30 minutes later.
When they've had time to like actually like look through the photo and stuff, because they just took it and you don't think about it.
Yeah. So there's an arguing couple, which we hear snippets of as well. It's very, very slashery. And then the bad acting, we can't decide. We can't decide if that's a piss take on bad acting in slashers or it's actually just awful. Because when we say awful, we mean awful.
Like, I personally don't think it's on purpose. I have hope. Because regardless of whether it's actually on purpose or not, it makes the first half of the film so horrendous. Like, it is a bad watch. People walked out of the cinema. I've never walked out of the cinema in my life. It's a film.
I've never seen it happen before.
What do you mean? Where are you going?
There's nothing else open.
They're just going home. And so if it is on purpose, I still think it's a bad call.
It was a bad call. First half is almost unwatchable.
But I'm also wondering, is it like a full bias of I thought they were worse than they were because I have a disdain for
I can't put that on.
Yeah.
we have some American
Yeah,
viewers.
it's like 18% of my viewers. So I think I'm slightly more biased, and that the bad acting was made worse because I don't. I'm gonna stop. I don't like that.
Yeah.
What? Me? I didn't say that.
Bad acting be bad. Really, that's where we're at with the acting. Next.
Nothing else really to say.
Oh, they do really cool things where we see the killer like act out the tropes that you see. Like there's one scene where he's got an axe as his weapon, and he goes and jams it into the car horn, and that's so that keeps the car horn beeping, which obviously you usually just hear in the background of slashers.
They're so loud.
Yeah, and then they all come running out, and the killer just casually takes a walk around.
Like the whole house.
And then he comes back out when they're all investigating the car, and he's like.
But
I love that bit so much.
the shot is cool because he actually walks past like the window on one of the side of the house, and someone's in it, but obviously they've just turned their head to look out the other way.
Yeah, where the sound is.
Like it's like watching the film, it's crazy to see how many near misses there is to spotting him.
Yeah.
Like, he's not being quiet about it.
He's literally just walking
He's just
around.
walking around. But it's just so many close calls. But you see it from the killer's point of view where they just turn their head in time and then they walk off that way, or they go off and do something else. So that's nice.
Yeah, it's very, very good. And I don't know if that one's worth talking about, the death in the lake. So there's a death in the lake, which, you know, teens, woods, lake,
Swimming.
kills.
It is fun.
It is good. That if you are gonna watch it, after that point is when it gets good. So
Fantastic,
keep going, keep going.
That's the turning point.
Mhm.
When you see the lake, all's well.
It's going to get good. So this is something you said you didn't like in the cinema. I don't know if you've changed your mind. But so the killer is basically a copy of Jason from Friday the 13th. You'll figure that one out in the first, I want to say 10 minutes.
I figured it
after
out
the
pretty
war.
quickly.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched many like classic old school slashers.
Mhm.
I got it straight away.
Yeah.
Is this me hating his mask?
Just him in general.
Yeah, I did actually. I still hate him.
It is a funny mask. It's goofy.
I like every time it came on screen. So like him himself is like disfigured, you know, whatever. He looks disgusting, and that's way scarier than the like old school fireman mask with the goggles.
Yeah. I heard someone describe it as like Brightburn. Have you seen Brightburn?
No.
Oh, never mind. But yeah,
It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
it's an old school firefighting get up.
Like leather mask with goggles in it, and he looks ridiculous when it turns to your face. So you spent this entire film building suspense because you don't really see that much of the front of him because we're like it's almost like a third person point of view. Like if
You're
you're
at the back.
if you're playing a game, so you see a lot of the back of him, and then they start doing close-ups of his face. I'm like, that's ruined it. Why?
I think that was the point though, isn't it? This film takes everything and goes, we're gonna give you exactly what you don't want.
Even before he picked the mask up, like in that scene, and it like pans to it, I was like, not that.
We all knew it was
I was like,
happening.
no, that looks awful. They should have just left him maskless. I understand why they did it.
Yeah.
I just wish they wouldn't have. He didn't need it. He was scary looking enough.
He was. I liked it. I thought the Jason ripoff was fine. On to the negatives. Cause there's some.
I'm sure we've covered a lot of them.
I mean, I think about half of this film is if you enjoy just watching people walk through nature, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, very atmospheric.
There's no musical score behind it, just to let you know. So, the whole point of this movie, or so we think for most of it, is that we're following the killer's POV. However, there's one kill where it switches POV and it annoyed me to no end. It's a kill that I would have loved to see the setup for, because I'm not going to spoil it, but there's one point where we switch to the victim's perspective. And it was just like, why? That's weird.
It is a cool perspective. Like, I'm not gonna do them dirty over it. It's not the worst thing you've ever seen. Like,
No.
it's still a cool POV, and I know they've done it to switch the tension more. So obviously, it's more tense seeing this from the person that it's happening to, rather than the killer that doesn't really give a shit. So, like, it's not even like he is getting pleasure out of killing. He just doesn't care. So I get why they've switched it, but I did. If you're gonna do the POV from the killer, it's nice keeping it that way. What was the point?
Yeah.
Like, I get it. What was the point in the change?
Yeah. And you can't even say it's the brutality of that kill because they are all brutal.
Well, it's not the only switch, though, in perspective, is it? The
No,
switch at the end.
Which is basically the last thing on the list. So yeah, we do switch to the survivors.
It's the final girl.
Yeah, that's not a spoiler, is it? 80s slasher Final Girl. To the final girl's perspective. And at this point, they do actually put tension on the film. They put a musical score in. They put, like, the suspenseful shots in that we haven't had before. And it's such a strange change of tone.
It worked so well.
It's good. It's good.
So you're saying, like, obviously, it shows the boring parts of the slasher films that you'll never really get to see. So, like, 9 times out of 10, you see the final girl escape, and then maybe it cuts to like a time later in her life where she's fine. But what happened in between then? Like, how did she actually get out? She's in the woods in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this follows her trying to get out of the woods in the middle of nowhere. Incredible. Very atmospheric, very tense.
It was so tense, yeah. It was, yeah, having that flip, having all the tension at the end. It's great. I thought about this movie for days after we watched it.
Yeah.
So no matter what anyone thinks of it, it worked on me.
I told at least 3 people what had happened. And they're like old men at work who don't care what I have to say.
Wait, do you have any final thoughts on it?
Yeah, I just need a minute to find them.
Okay.
Overall, I think it's a unique perspective of a film. It was really interesting. It was a fresh idea, especially not knowing what we were going to watch.
Yeah.
So, like, we weren't able to research the film or anything beforehand, so we were actually working it out as we went along.
I was so glad that we did that.
Yeah, I think if I had have known what it was before, you'd be waiting for the cliches.
Yeah.
You'd be waiting for the parts that you knew were about to happen. But because we had literally for 40 minutes had no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
Like, the opening 10 minutes of this film, I was just baffled. I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah. And not just us, an entire cinema full of us.
But obviously, by the time you got to the end of that 10 minutes, that's why I said, there's one thing happens, and you go, ah. But I just thought straight up it was just going to be an entire Jason knockoff. That was what was in my head.
Yeah.
I didn't realise there was going to be slightly more to it.
Mm.
But overall, I think I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. Which is generous, because the first half's awful.
Yeah.
But I think the second half really just pulled its weight.
I'd even give it a higher rating than that. Yeah, it's experimental, and yeah, I think the first half is going to put people off, and the director really does seem like he's out just to piss people off. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like, he's great. I've never seen that before, and the amount of horror films that I've watched, like nothing maybe have that reaction to a film. Where I was like so checked out for half of it, and then so in it, and then just for days thinking about it.
But I think it also, this style of film opens up an avenue of other point of views from killers, and not just in slashers. So it'd be nice to see how this experimental film, if received well, will hightail maybe some more POVs.
So funny that we watched this after last week or the week before. You were saying you'd wanted to see Terrifier from Art's perspective.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he has no thoughts.
Yeah, imagine little brain, just little carnival music going on.
The dreamscape always just in his head. But yeah.
Yeah, so I think we recommend it.
1 thumbs up, not 2.
1 thumbs up. Maybe watch it at home if you want to fast forward through the walking, because there's lots of walking.
Yeah, the first half is like, if you say it's 45 minutes long, it's 25 minutes of walking. And obviously there's a bit more action in the second half, and that's why it gets a bit better. Less walking, less talking, more killing. Straight to business.
Straight into business.
Well, it's not straight to business.
After 45 minutes, straight to the business.
It's a slow, gentle ramp up to some business.
Did the mic go off my feet?
I'll just add the sound effects in. You're fine.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, that works. It's like I'm putting them on my trousers.